I realize that I have conspired to be a little bit of a private individual and put quite a bit of my life behind, not exposing so much of myself and what I've been up to up here on, YouTube in the past couple of months, just because I don't like the way that people pry into shit. But I wanted to talk today about a particular issue because it's been something that's been kind of coming up a lot in the sense that I watch a lot of like videos that are produced by the men of YouTube and what they have to say about women and like the relationships that they have with the opposite sex. And I guess you could say that I've turned into a lot of a like I like Vosh, but I think that like my individual problem ultimately with uh, certain elements of like moderation is just that like I don't like being controlled by women. Like that's the thing. Like I will put up with a lot, but one thing I will rebel against is anybody that tries to exert any kind of like influence and control over me. Like I am very much against manipulation, very much so against people that will try to punish me into submission, who will try to browbeat me down into doing things the way that they want me to do them. I mean, you block me, you censor me, you do any of those kind of like shunning behaviors, and you're ultimately just going to get more of what you tried to knock out. I don't want to be controlled. But other than that, like I've been a very, very strong, you know, uh, feminist ally. I mean, I've given money to like the Girl Scouts. I've joked around about buying those abortion cookies. Like the fucking conservatives, they came in and they were like, you deserve to know what the Girl Scout cookies, fund. And then they were talking about how they give all this money to abortions and such. And I'm just like, you know, I guess I'll go buy a bunch of Girl Scout cookies and munch down on some of those yummy abortion cookies. I, I did not give a shit. It was like this backfiring ad. That's kind of like the history of like my feminist activism. I also joked around about how the Girl Scouts, there was this girl, right? She actually literally like she put the Girl Scout cookie stand like outside of a pot dispensary, which was like just brilliant entrepreneurship, like awesome, awesome, you know, in reaction to all that. And the other thing is just that like I've given money to them as an organization, but I really started to like I want to be like really honest about how I feel about the whole feud between the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. I'm 100% on the Girl Scout side. Like I fucking can't stand the Boy Scouts as an organization, and to this day, right? Like the Girl Scouts will take trans people. You know who the Boy Scouts won't take? Atheist. I don't get it. I don't get why so much of the YouTube community has like pushed this war on atheist men on women. I mean, like I'll be honest with you. Like as far as atheism is concerned, I think Rebecca Watson should be our leader. Formally, like I'm gonna come right out and nominate her. you know, Calling her out in Pacific. Like you should lead the atheist movement. You're awesome, and I look up to you, senpai. Um, anyways, moving along in topics. You know, what I really wanted to say is that a lot of the hangups that you're going to see a lot of guys on this platform actually say that they have about women are not individually shared by me in particular. And I wanted to talk about like my personal life and the reasons why things got that way. Um, this kind of combs over a lot of drama that I got into a number of years ago with Razorblade Candy and calling him out and taking like Jen's side in the slut shaming debate. Like I still think slut shaming totally not cool. I think that what I concealed and held back from telling my audience, though, when it came to slut shaming in the retrospect, is that I had an experience before that where I was a heavy gamer. I had played hardcore really. I mean, like I had been really hardcore into Final Fantasy 11, and uh, going over there and having been a member of like that community and having been a pretty major player in Final Fantasy 11. I mean, I had this this whole experience. And by the way, I realized that my body language is communicating like being guarded. So, like, by the way, autistic, I'm bad with body language. So, just spread out, let that I'm a little bit comfortable. Like, I don't feel the need to guard myself from, but, yeah, you can see my neck there. I'm okay with being vulnerable, I'm comfortable with it. But, so the thing is that I had this friend, ultimately, and she, uh, she, she asked me, a rather random question at one point, and she was a Final Fantasy player. She was a Final Fantasy 11 player, and she just kind of free-formedly like shot off this question kind of across the bow after we've been talking for a while. We were really close friends at this point. She was just like, how many men could I have been with and have slept with then that you would consider like too many? And I was just like, whoa, 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 like this is a like this question, like I don't know how to answer this. Like it doesn't seem like there's a really good answer to this question. It feels kind of like a trap, and this had the panic that washed over. But I was like, like, I promise you, I won't judge you, but I'm wondering now, on the basis like why you're feeling anxious. Like, how many has it been? And she told me, and I was like, well, that's kind of a high number for somebody your age. I wonder, is there a reason and a rationale for this? And my friend confided in me, like, ultimately, that she had been through a terrible ordeal, as far as being raped was concerned, and that she felt that she just basically stopped saying no when people put themselves and tried to sleep with her and expressed interest, because she felt that, for the most part, that guy, that, she was just afraid of being raped again. She didn't want to go through it, so she's always consented, basically, after that point. And I saw that, and I was incredibly uncomfortable, because it's like, like, I do feel like people should have the right to say no when it's a form of trauma and damage, and it's really troubling that this happened to somebody that I cared about for so long, And having had that relationship and having been so close to her for so long, like, I came out the other side, in that after that, I think it kind of encouraged me to start asking questions. And I think that when Jessica Valente's book, The Purity Myth, came out, I ended up buying it and realizing that we lived in a country where, like, the purity culture was a major factor in the country, and that those purity rings had always been kind of a thing. The concept of basically, no sex before marriage had been a thing for like a long time in this country. And I started looking at the purity culture, and it started to look like really creepy, in the sense that, like, it was like, wow, this kind of encourages virgin fetishization. It basically is pushing men to fetishize virgins, and then, on top of it, it feels kind of like their fathers are pimping them out. It's really creepy and gross, and that was kind of my reaction to, like, the purity myth as I was reading it, and interacting with the text. Like, that was my individual read on everything, and my interpretation from what I was getting out of it. And what so by the time, like, Jen's those pesky Dames videos came out about, like that got me in so much trouble with those pesky Dames and Razorblade Candy for, like, defending it. And like, on completely coming down on uh the side of the side that, was put forward by those pesky dames. I mean, like, I was, like, could have completely committed to her position in that whole debate. I think that what you and, like, Razorblade Candy and what YouTube didn't know about me was that I'd been through, like, all these experiences that kind of, what they did was have the effect of taking somebody that had always been kind of open minded and progressive, you know, but it was like, a door, being slightly ajar in somebody's head, and then things kept happening one after the other that kind of take that open mind and blow it off its hinges, basically. The door, and you end up having to accept a lot more than you originally prepared to, and that's kind of what happened to me. So by the time, those pesky dames had made her video, I'd been through, my friend, her experience opening my mind to the possible reasons that women could have, put out to so many people. It opened my mind to sexual trauma and whatnot, and PTSD from rape and, sexual abuse. It opened my mind to purity culture and how creepy purity culture was. I mean, I've been through experience after experience after experience, and it made me like very religiously call Razor Blade Candy out, because by that point it had been a ton of things that happened, and nobody knew that. Nobody coming into this knew what I'd been through. Nobody knew what my experience had been. But yeah, I mean, like, I was not going to take Razor Blade Candy's side because I'd had that real world experience that had, fundamentally taken a person, who had not initially set out to be completely indifferent to the number of men a partner or a woman that he was thinking about dating would take, and kind of changed that, because, the people that I encountered, they made me not care anymore. Like, I cared about so many people in spite of this, that by now, like, when it comes to somebody I'm thinking about taking on as a partner, virgin, cool. Not a virgin, cool. Like, there's no difference. There's no like, if it comes down to, like, if I prefer the girl that I go out with to be a virgin or not a virgin, I can't express a preference anymore. I don't care either way, and it doesn't matter if she slept with 20 men, or just a couple. Like, none of those factors matter anymore. You've changed. It changed the nature of everything for me. Pretty much forever from that point on. My hang-ups as far as women are concerned are completely different than other guys, and it means that the experience that I've had with them looks a lot different than a lot of other men have had relationship wise with the opposite sex. Obviously, I don't want to date a Republican, you know, but that's really, the one thing that I can think of, that has really kind of created that, drama between us. And but other than that, like, I've had a ton of experiences that kind of opened me, in a way that I didn't expect to be opened up, and nobody knew that, because it was like I wasn't going to come here and make a personal video about what happened to me and what I'd been through, but yeah, I don't care. I'm watching a lot of these man videos that are coming out, the latest one is from a doctor making like 70 million, like, he's made it in society, has a trophy wife, from a beauty pageant queen, and of course of course she's living a double life where she's working as the high end escort, and I'm watching the video, and the guy divorced her over it, and I'm sitting here like thinking, wow, if it had been my wife, I would have just been like, hey honey, I just found out about your secret life. I know about it now. I didn't expect this out of you, but I wanted to say that most men would divorce you over this particular issue, but if you share some of that hustle money with me and be my sugar mama, I ain't going anywhere. Like, it would not make any fucking difference. I would stay with her. Like, I am not in the same space I was back in the day. I guess you could say that I was very progressive and politically so, but on a personal level, expressed a lot more, conservative attitudes, and what ultimately happened in my personal life kind of made me a more progressive person in my personal life as well. You know, I think that, I guess you could say that my old sentiments towards sex work probably would have been more in line with, what something that I make fun of now, which is the liberal who basically says, I'm in support of sex work, but don't move next door to me. You know, now things have shifted where it's like, if I found out a sex worker was moving into my neighborhood, right, I would go bake her a cake and say, welcome to the neighborhood.